It's something new that Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
Because the scriptures say 2/3 are going to be cut off and die, right? So the third part that's going to be left, how is the 2/3 going to come back? The 2/3 are going to come back through the 1/3. The 1/3 that make it out of here, out of this destruction, from being here in Babylon, and the ones that are scattered throughout the rest of the four corners of the earth that the angels pick up and take in the chariots. When we come back down to this earth after the destruction, the ones that die are going to be bred back by the ones that make it. 2/3 are going to be cut off and die, but they're going to come back in the kingdom as the children of the 1/3. They're going to come back and they're going to get it right this time. In this side right here, they're going to have to be sacrificed.
It shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God.
Isaiah 60 and 21 and 22, points in 22. Thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in his time. So this is talking about when we're set up in the kingdom, a little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. That's talking about the men of Israel. We're going to have so many children. One man is going to have 1,000 children, and then another man is going to have so many children. It's going to be like a strong nation, and it's just going to be his children. And each man, we're going to multiply like that. We're going to have children upon children. But like I said, the Lord is going to restore us. He's going to restore us in the kingdom. We're going to get that ancient world stature and strength. We're going to get all that back.
Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers of listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today, is a continuation in the book of 2 Kings. All right, we made to the 8th chapter, and there's something heavy, that's said in the Salaki towards the middle of this chapter, which speaks to the promises, made by the Heavenly Father, dealing with the throne of David being established forever. Okay, and that's the main extrapolation, that we're going to get out of this chapter. All right, and it's going to go to the wicked alliance, that the southern and northern kingdom made through marriage. All right, you're going to see how, the southern kingdom began, to become wicked, like in the northern kingdom. Okay, and it was through marriage. All right, that's why the Lord always, would tell us about particular nations, okay, to stay away from and don't join them in marriages. All right, because there were certain nations that were so far off, the Lord didn't want us to be joined with them in any type of way, So Let's get to it. 2 Kings, the 8th chapter. All right, verse 1. Okay, and most of this first part is going to be reading through, because the points, towards the middle of the chapter. So you get 2 Kings 8 and 1. It says, Elisha had told the woman whose son he had brought back to life, take your family and move to some other place, for the Lord has called for a famine on Israel that will last for 7 years. Okay, and you see how the Lord always deal with the prophets, to tell them about what the oncoming dangers. Okay, you see the prophets will have the insight, okay, on what was to come. All right, and as the prophet will warn, okay, which this woman, she helped Elisha, her and her husband, husband and her, built an add-on to their house, just for him, when he would come through, so she was known for being charitable. Her and her husband and her family was known for being charitable to Elisha. Okay, and Elisha, he, looked out, and told her about a famine that was coming. And we're in the same. It's the same thing today through the ministry of the prophets. The Lord warns. Okay, let's get to precepts real quick. Ezekiel 3. Okay, and 17. All right, Ezekiel 3 and 17. And it says, Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel, or the lineage of Israel. Okay, therefore hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. Okay, so that's the state that we're in today. The Lord has raised up prophets, which are watchmen, to give warning of what he's about to do. Okay, you see, Elisha, he gave a direct warning, and we're in that same state today, giving a direct warning of what's to come, what the Lord is getting ready to do in the earth. Okay, you go here to Amos 3, which we always get, you see, but now majority of our people, they're not going to listen to that warning. Now this Shumanite woman, she was likened unto the elect. Okay, which Israel was likened to a tender and delicate woman. All right, but this woman that took heed was likened unto the elect of Israel, because she obeyed and she avoided, the punishment, man, that affliction of a famine. Okay, this is Amos 3 and 6. It says, surely, it says, shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city, and the Lord have not done it? Surely the Lord will do nothing, but he revealed his secret unto his servants, the prophets, man. So before the Lord, makes moves in the earth, he always raised up, a ministry of the prophets, okay, to proclaim, okay, the acts that he's getting ready to do. Okay, that's why when these things happen, it's not going to be, that no one's going to have to guess where these things are coming from, because he had a ministry of prophets telling of these things and preaching in his name. Okay, the things that are getting ready to happen on the earth, they're going to be accredited to our power. Okay, and that's how the Lord, operates, man. Okay, so going back, you see, so whether you take, the warning or not, this on you. Okay, but the Lord has raised up. He's sounding the alarm through the prophets, man. Okay, going back in 2 Kings 8 and 1. It says, then spake Elisha unto the woman whose son he had restored to life, saying, arise and go thou and thine household and sojourn wherever thou canst sojourn, for the Lord hath called for a famine, and it shall come upon the land 7 years. And the woman arose and did after the saying of the man of the Most High, and she went with her household and sojourned in the land of the Philistines 7 years. And it came to pass at the 7 years end that the woman returned out of the land of the Philistines, and she went forth to cry unto the king for her house and for her land. All right, she was making an appeal to the king, okay, of Israel. It says, and the king talked with Gehazi, the servant of the man or the Most High, saying, tell me, I pray thee, all the great things that Elisha have done. And it came to pass, as he was telling the king how he had restored a dead body to life, behold, a woman whose son he had restored to life cried to the king for her house and for the land. And Gehazi said, My lord, O king, this is the woman, and this is her son, whom Elisha had restored to life. And when the king asked the woman, she told him. So the king appointed unto her a certain officer, saying, Restore all that was hers, and all the fruits of the field since the day that she left the land, even unto now. So the Lord, put that spirit, on the king of Israel at the time, of the northern tribes, to have mercy, on this Shunammite woman. Showing you, as the scriptures say, when the man, even, women included, their ways please the Lord, he make even the enemies, be at peace with them. And the Lord had the time to where Gehazi, he pretty much set the stage, for this woman to be showing favor, showing you that, it's all in the Lord's time. That's one thing I'm learning, as I grow in this truth, man, that it's all in the timing of the Lord, man. His timing is perfect, and we should begin to trust in the Lord's timing more and more. That it has nothing to do with when we want or when we think something should be done or how we think something should be handled. Oh, man, the Lord has it figured out, because that woman couldn't have planned that. She couldn't have orchestrated that herself. The Lord orchestrating that, man, for her to have favor. And the Lord constantly orchestrates things in our lives and set us up for favor, man. Even with the sufferings and afflictions and setback in the midst of it, it's still, if the Lord is working, at work, in every situation. It says, and Elisha came to Damascus, and Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, was sick, and it was told him, saying, The man of the Most High is come hither. And the king said unto Hazael, Take a present in thy hand and go. Meet the man of the Most High and inquire of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim al-Shah, by him, saying, Shall I recover from this disease? So you have the king of Syria, inquiring of the prophet. And it shows you that, like we said before, eventually these other nations, they have it in them, to humble down under Yahweh Bashim al-Shah. They'll never be part of the covenant, all right? They'll never be part of the promise, That's only reserved for Israel, But they do have it in them, all right, to humble down under the rule of Yahweh Bashim al-Shah, which is going to be under his people, the Israelites, man, They'll never have immortality. They'll never, have the status of an Israelite, They'll never have spiritual powers. All those things are reserved from Israel. It's going to be a major difference from Israel and these other nations, man. But these other nations, excluding Esau, it's going to come to a point that they're going to have a reverence, for our power, man. Isaiah 2:1. Well, it says, so Hazael loaded down 40 camels with the finest products of Damascus as a gift for Elisha. He went to him and said, Your servant Ben-Hadad, the king of Aram, has sent me to ask, Will I recover from this illness? And Elisha replied, Go and tell him you will surely recover. But actually, the Lord has shown me that he will surely die. So Elisha, he's pretty much coaching, Hazael, all right, how to handle the situation, to pretty much go and give misinformation, to King Ben-Hadad. It says Elisha stared at Hazael with a fixed gaze until Hazael became uneasy. Then the man of the Most High started weeping. So Elisha just staring at him, after he told him the report. All right, thus said the Lord. Now he's just staring at Hazael. He said, What's the matter, my Lord? Hazael asked him. Elisha replied, I know the terrible things you will do to the people of Israel. You will burn their fortified cities, kill their young men with the sword, dash their little children to the ground, and rip open their pregnant women. So Elisha, the Lord had it, to where he was privy, to what eventually the king of Syria would do to the northern kingdom. It was going to be bad. And that was how, and you see, the Lord punishes, he will punish us as a people with other nations. So Elisha, the Lord has shown him a vision, a glimpse of it, man, to the point that he cried. He looked at Hazael, Like, damn, this nigga finna do this. Like, this the nigga that's finna do this. You got, like El Apostle Gabar said, you gotta be a visionary. Alicia gets this vision, this horrific vision of, the horrors that's coming, to the northern tribes. All right, and the man that's going to be in charge of doing it is right in front of him. So he's looking at this nigga like, damn, this nigga finna go crazy on Israel. And then he begins to cry, man, showing you that, hey, when the Lord, if the Lord gonna show, he ain't nothing to play with, man. You see, Jacob's trouble is going to be on this gonna be horrific, man. Okay, what the Lord finna get ready to do in Israel is gonna be horrific, man. Real quick, it's Jake playing these games. Jake is condemning themselves on the internet, and Jake is being more rebellious than ever, more proud against the Most High than ever. Okay, those that know that they're Israelites is BSing, man. And the Lord, all right, is finna do something horrific to Jake, man. Okay, and like I say, Elisha, as we've been reading through these chapters, Elisha is a very austere man. Okay, straight to the chase. But the Lord showed him a vision and made him cry, man, about what he was finna do to Israel, man. Okay, so let's go here real quick. I think this in the book of Jeremiah. Okay, so let's go here to the let me see, did it pull up? Yep, this is Jeremiah 19:3. It says, and say, hear ye the word of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim al-Shah, O kings of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Okay, thus said the Lord of hosts, the power of Israel, behold, I will bring evil upon this place, the which whosoever hear, all right, his ears shall tingle. Okay, so the Lord said he's going to do something, so horrific, to his people, that whosoever shall hear it, all right, his ears shall tingle, man. Okay, see, the Lord is going to make statements in the earth, man, and see, he's going to show why he's to be greatly feared. Okay, and because under the rulership of Esau, all right, the planet Earth looks at the Most High as a joke. All right, this Jesus Christ character, that they push to you as the Messiah of the Bible, he's looked at as a complete joke, complete pushover. This nigga be on Saturday Night Live, Family Guy, a joke. Okay, he just have, this Jesus Christ character just have a cameo in the movie. Okay, they just made the Messiah a joke. Okay, when it's the complete opposite, man. You see, even the demons, Esau push these scary movies. Okay, and he pushes fear, demons in those scary movies, but the demons fear the Most High. Okay, scripture speak about how the angels, tremble before the Most High. You see, and the Lord is going to get introduced to. The world is about to get introduced to, Al-Shaddai. All right, what they call God Almighty, terrible demon-like power. He's finna introduce that side to the earth, man. That's the side of the Lord that flooded the earth. Okay, and that's what the earth is finna be introduced to, man. Okay, because everyone is out of pocket. Okay, except for the elect. It says this Lamentations 2:20 says, behold, O Lord. Now this is after, because we read Jeremiah 19:3. Well, this the aftermath when the Lord made good on what he said he was going to do, all right, by the Babylonians. Okay, and I say the Lord would always use other nations as a whipping stick. All right, Isaiah 10:5, O Assyria, the rod of my anger, how he was sending what against a hypocritical nation, speaking about Israelites, man. Okay, so in this time, the Lord unleashed the Babylonians on Jacob. Okay, and this is what Jeremiah, this is his perspective of what he's seeing. It says, behold, O Lord, Yahweh Bashim al-Shah, and consider to whom thou hast done this. Okay, so Jeremiah is asking, like, look, these are your people, Lord. You gonna wild out on them like this? It says, shall the women eat their fruit, their children, it says, and the children of a span long, newborns, shall the priest and the prophet be slain in the sanctuary of the Lord. The young and the old lie on the ground in the streets. My virgins and my young men are fallen by the sword. Thou hast slain them in the day of thine anger. Thou hast killed them and not pity. Okay? And this is the type of anger the Lord is bringing back, except it's going to be worse. Because remember, we're coming into the worst time ever, man. We can't emphasize that enough. Okay? And niggas gonna play games and BS until the end, right into the worst times ever, man. Okay? Verse 22 says, thou hast called as in a solemn day my terrors round about, so that in the day of the Lord's anger, none escape nor remain. Those that I have swaddled, okay, and brought up have my enemy consumed, man. So the children, Jeremiah, you know, he was amongst his people. You have to understand, like, these prophets, they will be in the midst of their people, okay? You see? So they will have certain relationships and, certain children that they see, born and, come of age, and, certain children around the way, okay? And Jeremiah now is seeing them being, all right, destroyed and consumed in the Lord's anger. And he knows the Lord's anger that's doing this. That's why he's, praying to the Lord, like, consider to whom you're doing this, man. Okay? But see, like Elder Apostle Gabar says, man, what words, all right, won't teach, adversity will, man. Okay? And niggas got to feel something, because our people, they just won't stop. 2/3 are just getting more degenerate, man. The 2/3 that's in the world and those that of the that know that they're Israelites, man. Niggas are just wilding out more and more. Okay? Everybody's off the goddamn chain. Okay? Well, the Lord's anger, okay, is finna rest in the earth, man. And it's gonna be a horrific sight. You see? So going back, let's go back to the book of 2 Kings chapter 8. All right, let's read down. What we get? Yep. So this 2 Kings 8 and 12 says, and Hazael said, while weeping, my Lord, and he answered, because I know the evil that thou wilt do unto the children of Israel. Their strongholds wilt thou set on fire, and their young men wilt thou slay with the sword, and wilt dash their children and rip up their women, okay, their women with child. And Hazael said, but what is thy servant, all right, a dog, that he should go do this great thing? And Elisha answered, the Lord have showed me that thou shalt be king over Syria. So he departed from Elisha and came to his master, who said to him, what said Elisha to thee? And he answered, he told me that thou shouldest surely recover. All right. So Hazael, he's just been told that he's going to be the next king. All right. And he was told to tell Ben-Hadad that he was going to recover. All right. And when Elisha told him he was going to be king, that activated, the will of the Most High in him to do what he needed to do. All right. To make it happen, because the Lord wanted to judge King Ben-Hadad. All right. And he's going to use Hazael, to judge Israel. Okay. It says, and it came to pass on the morrow that he took a thick cloth and dipped it in water and spread it on the face. All right. So that he died, and Hazael reigned in his stead. Okay. So, Hazael, all right, he suffocated, Ben-Hadad, put him to death. All right. He became king. Okay. It says, in the 5th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat being the king of Judah, Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, began to reign. 32 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. And he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, as did the house of Ahab, for the daughter of Ahab was his wife. So he married into, the northern tribes, okay, by marrying the daughter of Ahab, okay, which she's a well known, she's an infamous demon, okay, amongst Israel, okay, which you're gonna get into it. It says, and he did evil in the sight of the Lord Yahweh by Shemal Shai, yet the Lord would not destroy Judah for David his servant's sake, as he promised him to give him always a light, okay, and to his children. So now, the Lord, even though you had wicked kings that will come out of Judah, okay, the Lord always preserved that line, okay, all the way up until Yahweh Shai, because the fulfillment of the eternal, okay, king that will come from Israel, that will be of the lineage of David, okay, is through Yahweh Shai, okay. We have to remember the Lord made promises, man, okay, and we're going to get it, all right, and it all goes back to a promised rulership to a particular lineage, okay. When you go to Numbers 23, all right, and 19, it says, the Most High is not a man that he should lie, neither the Son of Man that he should repent. Have he said, and shall he not do it? Or have he spoken, and shall he not make it good? Okay, and this is what, a lot of people want to disannul these promises of the Bible. Nah, man, the Lord made promises to a particular lineage, man. Okay, when you read the scriptures, man, there's certain promises made to particular lineages, and the Lord's going to make good on them, man. All right, and the birth of Yahweh Shai was confirmation that the Lord was going to make good on all those promises, man. Okay, and we're going to get there. Then we're going to go into some of those promises, man. Okay, and they all link up. Okay, you see, Christianity tries to give you an understanding to just make void all these promises made by the Heavenly Father. All right, the doctrine of Christianity just voids out, okay, all the promises made to our forefathers, man. All right, which shows you that's a contrary doctrine, man. Okay, this is Romans 15:8. It says, now I say that Yahweh Shai HaMashiach was a minister of the circumcision for the truth of the Most High, to confirm the promises made unto our fathers. Now, let's go into some of the promises made to, all right, our fathers, man. Let's begin with Abraham. Okay, this is the book of Genesis 17:4. It says, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. All right, so covenant goes into a contract, okay, an agreement. All right, neither shall thy name, all right, any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be called Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee, and I will make thee exceeding fruitful, okay, and will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee, and kings shall come out of thee, okay. This is a promise. So if kings shall come out of Abraham, okay, that's Lord promising Abraham a dynasty, man. Okay, and you go here to Genesis, I believe it's 30, might be 35. All right. Yep, this is Genesis 35:9 says, the Most High appeared unto Jacob again when he came out of Pan the Naram, and blessed him. And the Most High said unto him, thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. So just as he changed the name of Abram, all right, he's changing now the name of Jacob, giving him a title. Okay, and it says, and he called his name Israel. And the Most High said unto him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and the company of nations shall be of thee, the tribes. Okay, because each tribe is like a nation. Okay, unto itself. And kings, all right, shall come out of thy loins. Okay, so these are promises, man. And when you get to King David, all right, there's a promise within the promise. Okay, because eventually all the men of all 12 tribes will be kings and priests. Okay, but the top of their government will come from Judah. Okay, and you read 2 Samuel 7:12, it says, and when thy days shall be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up thy king, all right, thy seed after thee. Okay, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. So this is a promise to a lineage. He shall build an house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. Okay, now King Solomon, he built the first temple, but it wasn't established forever. Okay, it was one generation. Okay, it was built. Okay, in that one generation, and it was eventually, because even it was during the time of the Babylonians that first temple was torn down, so it wasn't forever. So that temple lasted, several generations, but it wasn't forever. You see, that was a prelude of what's to come. All right, which is us. Because the temple represented the presence of the Lord. Now we're the temple that represents the presence of the Lord in the earth, man. Okay, that's why when you keep reading, it says, "I will be his father; he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men." All right, and with the stripes of the children of men, showing you that this was speaking of Yahushua. This didn't happen to King Solomon. Okay, he wasn't chastened, all right, with the rod of men. He wasn't, beaten with the stripes of men. Okay, that's not recorded anywhere, but Yahushua was. Okay, because King Solomon committed iniquity, but he wasn't chastened. But when he came back as Yahushua, he was chastened, man. Okay, verse 15 said, "But my mercy shall not depart away from him, as I took it from Saul, who I put, away before thee." Now, let's go to the NLT with these next few verses. When you get verse 16, it says, 2 Samuel 7-16, the NLT says, "Your house and your kingdom will continue before me for all time, and your throne will be secure forever," man. Okay, that's a promise that the Lord is going to make good on. All right. So what we have to understand, all right, that there's always going to be, a descendant of David on this throne, and Yahushua feels that by being that eternal king. Okay, you see, that's why we have an everlasting kingdom to come. In order for the Lord to fulfill this promise, all right, we will have to be immortal. Okay, beginning with Yahushua. Okay, you see, so this was a promise made. All right, and that's why you go here to the book of Hebrews. All right, chapter 6, Apostle Paul. Because they're trying to say, "Oh, Apostle Paul invited the Gentiles, through his ministry was to the Gentiles." No, the Apostle Paul, would always run down the history going back to Abraham. He would always refer back to the promises of the fathers, man. Okay, so when you go to Hebrews 6:13, all right, this is the NLT. It said, for example, there was the Most High's promise to Abraham. Since there was no one greater to swear by, the Most High took an oath in his own name, saying, "I will certainly bless you, and I will multiply your descendants beyond number." So if salvation is open up to everyone, why is the Apostle Paul, giving a review on the promises made to this particular lineage, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Okay, Apostle Paul said what? Had the Most High, forsake his people? God forbid. He said what? He's a Israelite of the stock of Benjamin. Going to Romans the 11th chapter, at the beginning of the chapter, man. Okay, it said, "I will certainly bless you, and I will multiply your descendants beyond number." Then Abraham waited patiently, and he received what the Most High had promised. Now, when people take an oath, they call on someone greater than themselves to hold them to it, and without any question, that oath is binding. See, the Most High, there's nothing greater than him, so he promised on himself to keep that promise, man. Okay, verse 17, the Most High also bound himself with an oath, okay, so that those who received the promise could be perfectly sure that he would never change his mind. Okay, and when you get this in the let's get this in the KJV. But Christians are telling you that the Most High has changed his mind. You know, the Israel is done away with, the covenants for everybody. Okay, they're telling you that the Most High changed his mind. No. Okay, so when you go into let's see, let's get this in the KJV. All right, you read this in the KJV, verse 16. It says, "Wherein the Most High, willing more abundantly to show unto the heirs of promise the immutability of his counsel, confirmed it by an oath." Okay, so you go into his immutability. All right, you go into this word. What does it mean?
Strong's G 276. Ametathetos. Ametathetos.
All right. It says not transposed, not to be transferred, fixed, unalterable. Okay. Unalterable, unchanging. You see? So when you read on, okay, let's go back. Let's read the next verse. Okay. Verse 18. So we read verse 18. It says, so the Most High has given both his promise and his oath. Okay, so the Lord made a promise, and then he bound their promise with an oath, with a covenant, with an agreement, with an actual contract. Okay, these promises were verbal, you know, but these contracts were, you know, these are actual contracts. You know, their first covenant. You know, those stones. Okay, that was in writing. Okay, so these two things are unchangeable because it is impossible for the Most High to lie. Therefore, we who have fled to him for refuge can have great confidence as we hold to the hope that lies before us, man. So we should be fully persuaded, man, that the Lord is going to do what he said he's going to do, man. You know, and that's going to be the difference between the elect and non-elect, man. The elect are going to, the Lord has put it in the spirit of the elect to believe, all right, that he's going to do what he says he's going to do. You know, we should go into these times with confidence, man. You know, we should be fully confident that the Lord's going to make good on these promises, man. Even the standard getting lifted where the Lord has promised to give, you know, his people power in these times, man. You know, that we're going to eat in the middle of a famine. Okay? That we're going to be shielded, okay, from the chaos, man. We have to believe in those promises, man, knowing that the Most High promises are unchangeable, man. You know? We should have great confidence as we hold to the hope that lies before us, man. We should walk into Jacob's trouble with great confidence in our power, man. Okay? And you read verse 19, it said, this hope is a strong and trustworthy anchor for our souls. It leads us, all right? It leads us through the curtains into the Most High's inner sanctuary. Okay? So this hope is a strong, trustworthy anchor for our souls, man, to keep us grounded. Okay, because this is a world of, you know, of temptation and, you know, trials and, you know, things pulling at us, you know, spiritual warfare. Okay, always tempted, you know, to doubt, you know, to re-enter Babylon. Okay, but this hope that we have, you know, it should be getting stronger, and it should, you know, and there's that hope is getting stronger. It's like an anchor that's anchoring us down, man. You know, and the more we believe that, the heavier their anchor is, man. So we're unmovable, man. Okay, from the schemes of Satan. You see? So let's go back. All right. Because even when you get this word, real quick, let's get this word immutable. All right, now you go into Google and you go into all right, it says unchanging over time or unable to be changed. You know, so time doesn't change the promises, man. Okay, and it says permanent. Okay, established. set, fixed, okay? And you got certain precepts that uses those words. Okay, when you go to let's get this here. We'll get 2 precepts, and there's more. All right, we're just gonna hit the point. You know, precept drive home the point. Okay, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 105, 103, 103. So like, all right, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 103. Okay, and this is 103. It's been a while. I'm gonna blow the dust off of. Let's see. I thought it was 103. Let's see. Might be 104. Let's see if I can look it up. Hold on. Okay, it was 105. Okay. So lock it. All right, this is Psalms 105 and 6. It says, "O ye seed of Abraham, his servant, you children of Jacob, his chosen." Okay, showing you that what is a lineage. You children of Jacob, his chosen. Okay, he's the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Al Shah power. His judgment are in all the earth. He have remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations. Okay, and this covenant is immutable, it can't change. Okay, it's been upgraded. All right, and we're in the grace period. You know, this grace period is a bridge, you know, to that new covenant. Well, we're going to be changed. Okay, but it's going to be on the same standards, man. Okay, it says, which covenant he made with Abraham and his oath unto Isaac, and have confirmed. Okay, another word for immutable, and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant. Okay, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant. Okay, and you go into that word confirm. Okay. So let's get this word confirmed in the Hebrew, which is amad. All right. And you go into it, what it says is to stand, to remain, to endure. Okay, so time, all right, doesn't alter that agreement. Okay. You see, it will say, it says to station, to sit. All right, to sit, to cause, to stand firm, to maintain. So it's sit, all right, to point, okay, to ordain, to establish. All right, so these things are sit. Even when you go here to Psalms, all right, 122, okay, and 5. What does it say? It says, for there are set thrones of judgment, okay, the thrones of the house of David. Okay, so there's a unchangeable, fixed thrones of judgment that's reserved for the house of David, man. Okay, under Yahweh Shai. Okay, you can't get around it. So going back to 2 Kings 8. Okay, in 2 Kings chapter 8. Verse 19 said, yet the Lord will not destroy Judah for David his servant's sake, as he promised him to give him always a light, okay, and to his children. In his day, Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah and made a king over themselves, all right, which this was prophesied in Genesis, the the 27th chapter. We get it. It says, so Joram went over to Zoar and all the chariots, because King David, had Edom, in subjection. Okay, and all the chariots with him. And he rose by night and smote the Edomites, which compassed him about, and the captains of the chariots and the people fled, into their tents. Yet Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah, until this day. The Libnah revolted, then Libnah revolted at the same time, and the rest of the acts of Joram and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah? Now, just to get this real quick, just to link that up in the book of Genesis, all right, when it's told that this will happen, all right, this is on Genesis 27 and 40, just get straight to the point, all right. When Isaac, was blessing Esau with the sword, all right, Genesis 27 and 40 in the NLT says, you will live by your sword, all right, and there's no doubt who the devil is just by this one statement, okay, and you will serve your brother, but when you decide to break free, you will shake his yoke from your neck, okay, which the devil did, okay, during this time, under Joram, okay, king of Judah, all right, and he would do it during the Renaissance, okay, he would shake loose, okay, from the yoke, and come into power, all right, he's been in power since then, okay, but it was promised he would do that. He show you that the scriptures don't miss. So going back into 2 Kings 8, all right, and 25, it says, and Hazael, son of Jehoram, all right, began to rule over Judah in the 20th year of the reign of Joram, son of Ahab, king of Israel. So Esau broke away from Jehoram, all right, Jehoram, all right, Joram was the king of Israel, okay. It said as Uzziah was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 1 year. Okay, his mother Athaliah, a granddaughter of King Omri of Israel. Okay, so you go into Athaliah, all right, which she's infamous, for her wickedness. Okay, let's go to who she is. All right, this is that wicked alliance, I was speaking of, in the beginning, the southern kingdom married into the northern tribes. They married into the lineage of the kings of the northern tribes. Okay, so you go to. So this is you go into her name, Athaliah. All right, which is Athaliah. Okay, in the Hebrew. Okay, it says afflicted of the Lord. And this represents a wicked spirit of rebellion and disorder, this spirit of Athaliah. Okay, now you go into it. Who is she? It says the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel. So she's a demon child. She's a child of two demons, Ahab and Jezebel. Okay, and the wife of King Jehoram of Judah, killer of all the members of the royal family of Judah, with the exception of one baby named Jehoash, who was hidden by the high priest Jehoiada until 6 years had passed, and Jehoiada led a revolution to put him on the throne, overthrowing Athaliah and putting her to death. Okay, so she has a very wicked legacy, as an Israelite woman. All right, and this spirit is alive and well, in Israel today. And it says Ahaziah followed the example of King Ahab's family. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, just as Ahab's family had done, for he was related by marriage to the family, of Ahab. All right, Uzziah joined Joram, son of Ahab, the king of Israel, in his war against King Ahaziah of Aram, at Ramoth Gilead. When the Armenians wounded King Joram in the battle, he returned to Jezreel to recover from the wounds he had received at Ramoth, but Joram was wounded. Because Joram was wounded, King Hezekiah of Judah went to Jezreel to visit them. So you have now, the northern and the southern kingdom, they're pretty much interlocked, by this wicked marriage. Okay, and nothing but madness comes from this fiasco. Okay, so that was the point. Just wanted to get into the 8th chapter. That concludes chapter 8. Lord will. You brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I'm gonna give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. Peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful. Shalom.